I was actually scammed out of $1,000. Not by a stranger, not by a Facebook scam, not even by one of those stupid text messages you get saying that your item hasn't been delivered or can't be delivered today. So send us $3,000 of Apple gift cards. It's actually someone I know in the community. I've spoken to him at length before, and it was really, really weird how the situation played out. So in today's video, I want to kind of give a bit of a background as to what happened, the red flags that I should have kept an eye out for, potentially the reasoning it happened from their perspective. And by all means, whilst yes, I'm quite angry and quite aggravated, and being neurodivergent, being ADD, I do have a lot of these things going through my head. So a lot of people have been asking me, where have I been for the YouTube and all these different things? And this is possibly what it was, is that this has had an effect on me for the last month and a half. And to be quite honest, I've been disassociating from not only work, also the reselling, the business, and also friend groups from that perspective. So what's actually happened? What actually transcribed to have had this happen? So long story short, someone in the community, like I said before, that I've known for quite a few years, they have been in my chats, they've been in other people's chats, they have left comments on this channel, they've been leaving comments on numerous channels. I'd originally met this person in a paid Facebook group for reselling, but that's beside the point. So, like I said, I know they're a real person. I do know their circumstances a little bit, going off the past knowledge of when I used to speak to them. Anyway, so this gentleman reached out to me. I'm not going to make any names, or I'm not going to insinuate who it is, because I do think the circumstances that they are facing are legitimate. And because of those reasons, it's basically pushed them down the path to have engaged in this kind of behavior. If scam's the right word, do let me know in the comment section below. If scam's not the right word, equally let me know in the comment section below. But this individual reached out to me and said, hey, look, I've got a whole bunch of Skylanders I need to move because I'm facing eviction. So realistically, this person is, I'm 42, and they are, won't say considerably older than me, but they're at least 10 years older than me. So basically they said, hey, I'm facing eviction. I need to get some money really quickly. Are you interested in these Skylanders? And I said, look, I'm always looking at buying Skylanders. As you can see behind here, tubs and tubs and tubs of Skylanders, which, if you don't know, if you've stumbled across this channel before, they're little action figures that you can play on your PlayStation, your Wii, or anything along the lines of that. They're commonly referred to as toys to life, so a lot of people do know what they are. Anyway, so he basically reached out and said, hey, look, I need some money quite quickly. I'm facing eviction, and I do not, want to be evicted. So how he came to me, he was referred by another reseller in the space. He said, look, hey, Josh is the Skylander person. Go to him, and he'll assist you, or at least talk to him and go from there. Anyway, I asked him what he had, so he showed me some pictures of. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It was quite generic Skylanders, and in the sense that a lot of Skylanders are mass-produced, as per anything these days, and a lot of them go for $1.99. And I have spoken about this before, plus postage. And he had the generic of the generic Skylanders, you can imagine. Just need to set it up. So what happened from there is I said to him, okay, cool, yes, I'm interested in your Skylanders. To be brutally honest, they're quite low ones. What do you want? So initially he asked for $300, and I said, look, that is massively overstating their value. However, he doubled down on the eviction piece. He did say, hey, look, I've got this going on. I really need to get the money together. I suppose, I don't know if I mentioned it in this take or not, is that being neurodivergent, ADD, and having lost people in the past due to circumstances of which I've talked about in a previous video that I didn't publish, I resonate with things like this. This is my Achilles heel. When people come to me and tell me that they're having financial problems or they're having personal problems, all these different things, the mechanism of my brain or the chemicals of my brain really want to jump on and help people out, and obviously often to my detriment, and my mental health, and try not necessarily help from a financial purpose or a financial point of view, but I will probably give them some words of encouragement, or talk to them, obviously give them some advice, and listen kind of from that perspective. So, not wanting this person to be homeless or being evicted, I agreed to buy them for $300. theoretically, if I'm going to be brutally honest, the market rate of these Skylanders are probably $250. So, we're back on. They're probably $250. So I was in the hole $50 already. So they came to me after a little bit of nudging to get them to come to me. They arrived. They were fine. There's no issues from that. So good to go. Happy. Did say, hey, look, they've arrived. Yeah, thanks for the Skylanders. Listed them as I do normally and go from that way. Then probably 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I actually had another message for this gentleman. You think I'd learned my lesson the first time. And he said to me, hey, look, I'm looking at selling the second, are you interested in a second lot of Skylanders? And I was like, well, they need to be considerably better than the first one. You need to be very mindful of the fact that I overpaid for the first one. So that is going to be in consideration of my second offer for the other Skylanders, in the sense that I grossly overpaid. For the first lot, I expect some sort of realistic buy rate for the second shipment. So we keep talking. Then he said, look, my garage is full of boxes, or I don't know if I'll probably put the picture in here somewhere, but I need to clear this stuff out because, like I said, I'm facing eviction. He's got all these bills piling up and all these different things, and he needed to get money quite quickly and bring it together from that perspective. I said to him, quite stupidly in retrospect, said, look, instead of us working in batches, because for me, I prefer to do one big shipment, have almost a pallet arrive on an X basis, process them, then be on my merry way from that way. So we reached an agreement that I would buy out every single Skylander that he had currently in stock for $1.2 thousand, so $1,200. I don't know why I said it that way. Anyway, so he agreed to that. My next mistake is I actually paid him by Pay ID, or in the States like Venmo, or those instant payments that you don't have any recourse of calling back if something goes wrong. The simple fact is that I've probably got coffee in my mouth now. The simple fact is this guy needed cash quickly. He was basically saying that, I think I sent it through on the Wednesday. He did tell me that he needed to finalise his accounts in the sense of the evictions and all the other bills raking up on the Thursday, or be in dire straits and all these different things. And I want to make abundantly clear, he is probably watching this video. I honestly believe that is the series of events that transpired. I being hypersensitive to different things in the economy and all those different things at play, having 4 kids of myself, I'm quite hyper vigilant, is that things are getting very hard, and I really, really, really don't want to see my kids in that situation where they are facing eviction, they're facing homelessness, because of all these different things. And like I was saying, that kind of mindset played into my very ill decision making process. So I transferred him the $1,200, now up to $1.5K, so $1,500. And he said, okay, cool, I'll get the first shipment for the second lot out tomorrow, which comprises of 2 boxes. So theoretically, it should be enough to fill out one of these crates. I said, cool, no worries. That never happened. So basically, slide by a week or 2 weeks of constantly chasing it up, saying, hey, look, I need to get this stock, becoming a little bit cautious at this stage in the sense of becoming a little bit disgruntled, living to my name, saying, hey, look, you really need to get this stuff to me or give me my money back because this wasn't a part of the arrangement and we need it to be finalised to get going. So he told me his son had been sick in hospital, which I have no way of verifying one way or another. I personally think that wasn't correct, or that wasn't truthful, but I do not know enough to make a statement in that respect. So long story short, he did send me a tracking number for 2 boxes. So he did take 2 photos. One had in Australia Post Express label tape, which is a yellow tape that goes around the box, which basically had a tracking number on it. And there was a second box, which I couldn't make a very similar size, so the same size boxes, the both of them. The only distinguishing factor is one had the yellow tape and the other one I couldn't tell because he had one kind of full frame and the other one was closed up with the label, but the label looked like it was taken, the photo was taken by a Nokia 3210. So the camera, like, it was ineligible. I couldn't read it. Maybe I should work on my elocution. Anyway, so I couldn't read the label. So he had made the details for receipt of that box his own details, in the sense that it was getting addressed to me. However, he used his mobile phone number for putting the details down. So at no point did I have a number to track it, or nor did I get notification when it arrived at the post office to go pick it up. So me harassing him, or him reaching out from memory and saying, hey, look, the parcel's arriving today, or something along lines of that. I can't remember. I'll go through the various histories of the chat. And like I said before, I'm quite conscious of the fact is that I will share snippets of the chat just to give some sort of validity. However, I don't want to out this person because of the circumstances. And to be brutally honest, it's a result of circumstance. Like I was saying, with the cost of living crisis, this person probably got desperate, needed the cash quite quickly. Then after they had the cash injection, quite possibly got themselves into trouble again. And then obviously stopped responding, all these different things, but we'll get to that further in the story. So long story short, I chased them up for the tracking number. I got the tracking number, went to my local post office, which I do have really good rapport with. They're fantastic. So they came up with one box with all this stuff, right? And I said, okay, cool, there should be 2 boxes. So I muck around jokingly with the post office, just my sense of humour. They get my sense of humour, so don't worry too much about that. And I said, look, no, there should be 2 boxes. He goes, no, Josh, there's only one. I was like, okay, cool. So I messaged this guy, I said, mate, there's only 1 box, what's going on? He goes, no, there should be 2 boxes. So I won't say I got into a heated discussion with the post office. We did have a bit of going back and forward. But unbeknownst to me, and unbeknownst to probably a lot of people in the reselling community, is if you use the postage app, which we do use in Australia for sending our parcels, if you have a tracking number attached to that, Australia Post on the back of their system can go back and actually work out what you've sent. Because this person had been reselling and had created what they call a My Post business account. It was evident through the tracking number we could reverse engineer to his My Post business account to see what he actually sent. So my friend at the post office went into this gentleman's account and said, look, Josh, he's only sent 1 parcel. And by his reselling history, which this guy's supposed to be a reseller, or he's quite, I might say, overly active in the reselling community, he still engages some capacity. He'd only sent maybe 2 or 3 parcels, possibly in the last 90 days. I'm not too sure how long the system works. So not only has he been telling me on regular occurrences that there's a second parcel coming, I now have evidence that there's not. So if I'm going to be brutally honest, I'm probably, the exception of the first lot and the second lot, probably comes up to a listed value on eBay about $300. So you could probably say, at the very best case scenario, $1,200 out of pocket, $1,200 down the drain. So I've been engaging with this person quite regularly, saying, hey, look, I'm getting quite irate, send the money back now, and all these different things you normally do with a scammer to go from that perspective. He has come back numerous times and said, hey, look, I've been sick in hospital, or my son's been sick, or all these different things, all these excuses under the sun has been coming through. Which is generally all the scams that I keep telling people about, and this is what hurts the most from my perspective, is that my accounts and my personality and probably a little bit of the special sauce that I got going in the brain is that I pride myself on trying to tell people to look out for these common scams. Like, I actually run a Facebook group with a couple of other people in a mentor, like in a moderator and admin space, telling people, and going into other Facebook groups and, showing people this is what you need to look out for scams. This is what you need to be very mindful of. Keep your eye on these different things to make sure you don't lose your hard-earned cash. And me, through someone, triggering my, I suppose, paternal instincts, in the sense that I don't want to see this person being financially disadvantaged or thrown out of their residence and evicted and all these different things. And quite possibly that may have happened. He may have been evicted because, I dare say, he was in a hole from a rent perspective because he was in arrears to get to the point of eviction. And he could possibly be evicted now. I don't know, nor do I suppose, like I said, I don't have any ill will towards this person. But the fact of the matter is that I'm $1,200 down. If I look at it from a cost analysis, from the business perspective, I work full time. I work 9 to 5, for example, 5 days a week. I do eBay probably for the best part of 20 hours a week, which that 20 hours is taken away from my family time, taken away from my leisure, taken away from my wife, taken away from my kids, to try and further ourselves and make it more. More possible to to pursue different things. Obviously help my kids with what they're doing, extra school curriculums. Building some money up for a Japan trip, making sure that we don't ourselves fall into a situation where we need quite quick cash on a moment's notice. So if I look at it from a good week or a bad week or on average week, my average probably about $1,200 profit, which is coincidentally how much I've lost. But so if we look at it for 20 hours that I've spent, I've in essence lost 20 hours of productivity, or lost 20 hours of me sourcing and listing and cleaning and all these other things that come into running a business, for some guy to pull one over on me. For the simple fact is, almost feels like I've donated to an unwilling GoFundMe screen that I wasn't aware of. Obviously, me being one of those people that are trying to help people in the community and trying to make sure people are right and give some guidance and assist people in that capacity, it's coming to the point where it's burnt me out. Like I said a little bit earlier, I've disassociated from the business, disassociated from a little bit from my friend groups in the reselling space, all these different things. A lot of people in the YouTube space have reached out to me asking me if I'm all right and all these different things. It's quite hard, and it burnt me out almost immediately when it came to the realization that I spent 20 hours for that week, away from my family, away from, the things that I love and all these different things, to in essence give this guy, $1,200 out of the kindness of my heart for no tangible product. Probably closer to $1,500 because the product wasn't there. But like I was saying, is that I honestly think he's a victim of circumstance, in the sense that I'm not going to make this preachy, I'm not going to discuss it too much more, but there is a lot of cost of living pressures that are going around and becoming more abundant, even in the vicinity of where I am. So I do think it's those circumstances that are pushing good people to bad decisions, in the sense that I probably won't engage with this person again. I will probably look at other options. As to getting any of my money back, I think that's negligible or not worth it. It's not worth my time. It's almost like a sunk cost. Let me know in the comment section below how you would handle it. Like I was saying, it's from a neurodivergent ADD person. My brain works 100 million miles an hour. In the sense of, I overthink things, and I have said this previously. I look at things from different perspectives. I look at things from different angles. And when my brain is preoccupied with this, it becomes really quickly burnt out. So where I'd be rather focusing on, spending time with my family, spending time and, creating a business and, hopefully furthering our, little bit of money that we do make on the side. It just, like I said, just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. So let me know in the comment section below if you have been in a situation like this before. By all means, it's not embarrassing. Don't beat yourself up again. It's not a reflection on you. And if you have the outcome, or alternatively, what you would have done in this situation. So I suppose from me, I will put a couple of things in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. I was watching a video the other day where they were talking about separating the business from the person. A lot of these things that don't come it might seem like common sense, but they don't really click until they need to. Is that, in the sense now, I look at the business as a separate entity. So when I do make deals, they're no longer on emotion. It would be on the business's perspective. The business is ruthless. The business is cold. The business is basically there to survive. So the decisions will be made on the basis of that criteria. Going forward, if I am sourcing online, or I am sourcing through Facebook groups or Facebook contacts, and like I've said numerous times, a couple of my biggest suppliers have actually come from Facebook. They actually reached out to me, and they've been fantastic. They are paid through PayPal goods and service, so there's no issues from that perspective. But all transactions now, regardless of what they are and how much they are, if they're not local, they are done through PayPal goods and services. And yes, I should have done that in the first place. However, like I said, these things come into play and they start scratching inside your brain, and you don't want it to happen from that perspective. So let me know, once again, if you have come across these kind of scenarios before, if you think the circumstances are legitimate. I know a lot of people will probably go, that's nothing along the lines that. I have known this person. I do know their background a little bit. And not once have I got any, inklings of, scammy vibes or otherwise behind it. So let me know. I'm going to wrap the video up here. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And like, comment, share. Like I said, is that I do think these things are going to become more and more prevalent just by the passage of time. And another reminder as why I probably don't tell people to do full-time reselling, which I do vaguely remember this person was doing. It's very hard. It's very, hard to move. And it's not as it's not to be romanticized about. I'll leave it here, but I hopefully get back to regular transmission in the coming week. I do have some more videos coming out. I just wanted to probably put this video out there just to give an idea of people, what I've been up to, what's been going through my mind. I'm fine, perfectly fine. And like I was saying, is that I just want to use this as a learning opportunity to make sure it doesn't happen again to other people. And like I said, I'm not going to out the person. So if you, by all means, in the comment section, if you do ask that, or if you reach out, I won't. However, I will put somewhere to make sure that you don't engage with this person. And he has reached out to a couple of the big Australian resellers in the space to sell his product to. But like I was saying, I'll probably reach out to those people and say, hey, probably don't do business with this person if you haven't already. But there, I'll leave it there. Let me know your comments and let me know your thoughts, and we'll see you next time. Bye.